A second and distinct group of children I was guided to connect with are kids living in what could be described as child-headed families or child-headed households. Once again, in general terms, following the death of their parents, the oldest child in the family has stepped up into the parent role. Living in a rural area on land their parents owned up till their deaths, the children have remained together, often with either minimal or no assistance from extended family, friends, neighbors, or their community. Over the months, I met a few child families and was very privileged to work closely alongside two of them, Gideon's family and Betty's family. Starting where the children are with what their parents left them and gaining an understanding of how they have been managing their circumstances, I began to realize what form of guidance and empowerment they were most needing. Priorities revealed themselves to be quite consistent between the two families, and they are the basics: food, shelter, healthcare, education, and income. I was first introduced to Betty by a counselor from a local AIDS organization who knew I was in Uganda to connect with orphan children. The counselor had been to see Betty a couple of times before, and she told me that the first time she had gone to their compound, Betty had cried. When she returned the second time, she asked Betty why she had cried at their first meeting. Betty told her that they had been praying and waiting a long time, and no one had come. So she was relieved and grateful when she saw someone approaching. On the day I met Betty, she seemed very pleased to welcome us. Not really so for her 10-year-old brother, Morning. Betty had to call him out of hiding, and slowly he made his way over to be among us. He seemed very gentle, scared, and sad. The counselor told me he was probably introverted. She said he had one pair of shorts and one shirt. Quoting from my journal, I gave my hoodie away today to a little boy. I thought I could hear an angel say, "Give him your top," and so I took it off me and I put it on him. It was very easy to do. I could feel his grief and sorrow, especially when I hugged him to my side and rubbed his back. I think he is named Morning. I think the story goes that he was born in the morning. His mom and dad died a few years ago. It had taken less than 1 second for Morning to find his way to the very center of my heart, and it was all I could do to wrap him in some kind of comfort and protection that day, knowing that I would return and find ways to encourage and empower this family. After some time and a few return visits to Betty's, I started to make headway into understanding some of the children's circumstances. I had needed to work out transportation to the children because they live a couple hours away from where I was staying, and there was the issue of communication, as they understand a little English but speak a local language called Iteso. As luck would have it, I met and was helped by a local man who himself was orphaned at 14 years of age. He owned a motorcycle and has a heart of gold, and played a very important part in the special relationships we were to all share. Over time, my friend and I were able to piece together some details about the children's lives. Following the deaths of both parents a few years ago, the children had been split up and sent to stay with extended family. Betty had learned that her younger brothers were sad and crying due to loneliness and neglect. She made the decision to collect her brothers and bring them back to the family compound. As there was no will, the clan leaders of the area had voted and secured the family land in the children's name. When Betty's cousin Rose had given birth to Stella, who was born with hydrocephalus, the baby's father had abandoned them both, and so they had come to live with Betty and her brothers in 2006.